Hello, here is my video reflection for this week's NUR 402 lesson. So if you see me referring back to my computer, just because I kind of wrote some notes of what I want to say for this. So when I think of nursing unions, I honestly see really strong benefits and also some downsides to being in a union. My opinion comes from what we've learned in class so far, just becoming a nurse and actually kind of paying more attention to this. And also my dad is pretty heavily in the bricklayers union, so I do get some information from that. So over the past year, the strike that I chose to talk about is the New York City strike that happened in the beginning of this year. Thousands of nurses across major hospital systems like Mount Sinai and Montefiore went on strike after contract negotiations fell through. So it was actually 15,000 nurses went on strike, and the main issue were unsafe staffing ratios, pay, and working conditions. It got a lot of national attention because it highlighted how overwhelmed hospitals were and how nurses were really advocating for safer patient care. Eventually, they were able to reach agreements that included better staffing protections and pay increases. And to me, this situation really showed how unions can actually create a real change for nurses, especially when it comes to patient staffing and patient safety and their working conditions. From my perspective, I think one of the biggest pros of being in a nursing union is having kind of this collective voice. So instead of just you asking for help, you feel like you have support around you, and these nurses can come together to actually create a change, and they can speak up about things like staffing ratios, safety concerns, fair pay. And I think that these things are really important because nurses are the ones that are at the bedside, and they are seeing how unsafe conditions can really affect patient care firsthand. Another pro is having some form of protection and support. Unions can offer legal support and help nurses if their workplace conflicts are causing issues, or if they're having unfair treatment. And they also can push for safer working environments, which ultimately help reduce burnout and improve patient care. On the other hand, there are some cons to being in a union. One is that strikes or negotiations can sometimes disrupt patient care. Even if the goal is to improve it long term, it can still cause discrepancies. And during these times, hospitals may have limited staff or have to rely on temporary workers such as travel nurses to come in. And that can be very stressful. That can cause a very tense environment for everybody there. Another downside is that these unions can sometimes create less flexibility in the workplace. So I know that they have very strict rules about seniority, about scheduling, and this can make it harder for hospitals to quickly adjust to changing needs for nurses, and it can have more individualized scheduling options. So if I had a choice to be in a nursing union, I think I would choose yes. For me, patient safety and having a strong voice in the workplace is very important. Currently, I'm not in a nursing union. My work does not offer that, but definitely if they gave us that option, I think I would be in the union. I like the idea of feeling supported or having, someone to back me up if there was ever the time where that would be needed. And you know, knowing that there's just a system in place to advocate for safe staffing, fair working conditions, these are all things that can really make or break how you feel as a nurse. They can contribute to burnout, or also on the other hand, they can prevent you from wanting to further your education or kind of climb the ladder of being a nurse. So overall, I think that nursing unions are very important in healthcare today, and they aren't perfect, but I do think that they play a big role in protecting nurses and ultimately improving patient care. So the article that I used today was from the New York State Nurses Association. It was the article that talked about the 41-day long strike where there were 15,000 nurses that were on strike. and I will find a way to either link it down below or I will add a document of the citation. So thank you for listening.